I'm well aware of the fact that a great deal of what is financing this situation in Belarus right now is based on one of the only two sexual encounters I've had in the last 10 years. I've had sex twice in the last 10 years, and one of them happened to be with somebody who's from Belarus. And because of the profundity of the sexual exploitation regime that was set up, and for whatever reason, I just seem to have a significant amount of, I don't know, amortizable assets that my lack of philandering, I guess, allowed for an accrual. And rather than being able to have a meaningful relationship with people from that country, including the person that I was with, that I had hoped to develop a long term relationship with, I ended up getting trafficked, racketed, sent elsewhere on errands for people that never identified or confirmed what they wanted. And I absolutely 100% believe that when they spied on me while I was intimate with somebody and recorded it, and also allowed for it to be an economic event connected to a very important term, and exploited him and exploited me, that the accrual of that allowed for the systematology that's at work right now concerning the events in Belarus. Now, there's this situation where I may or may not have also been used as an asset connected to the Ukraine specifically, right? I'm trying to deal with this the best I can in isolation and in supreme amount of gaslighting. My understanding is that right now, the head of state in the Ukraine and in aid have been identified as having COVID 19. And as I've said, I believe that COVID 19 is actually a biological weapon. And just within the last 2 weeks, I believe, the head of state in the Ukraine had also challenged the Supreme Court of the Ukraine. And they have also recently implemented measures concerning taxation for assets that would be leaving the Ukraine as a way to try to address massive money laundering that has occurred. I believe all of these matters are directly connected to massive fraud and exploitation at the behest and under the cover of the Clinton Foundation. I believe these matters are absolutely 100% connected to abuse of office by former President Bill Clinton and the political career of Hillary Clinton since she stepped down or was no longer the First Lady, including during her time as Secretary of State. And not only that, I believe that she, while she was First Lady, in conjunction with Bill Clinton being the president, was allowed to select specific children that she thought would be promising as proxies or political risk insurance for the rest of her political career, and had every intention of exploiting us to death if necessary to accomplish her aims. And unfortunately, because of this, and because of the manners in which other people who may or may not have been co conspirators with this kind of systematology engaged, that other people I've been connected to in my life, including in intimate manners, have been exploited as well. And that we've been harvested and we've been exploited, specifically as political risk insurance for other people. And every once in a while, it is to their advantage to create profiles of our lives. And so they'll steal records. My publications, for instance, when I was a newspaper editor, there's no record available. I can't get them. There's a notice you can find somewhere with my name on it, with the position. But the actual hard copies of what I did between 1996 and 2002, I can't get any of that. I contacted publications. They just conveniently aren't available to get back to me for years. While those benchmarks show up in cases further down the road, including cases that make it to the Supreme Court. For instance, speeches I give at universities somehow have public notices, but they've swapped out the picture of me with a picture of somebody that doesn't even look like me. For instance, it's been going on with me for years, and I believe there are other people, maybe not a whole lot of us, but other people who were set up to be a sort of incubator for these opportunists. So on one hand, it begs the question of whether or not these people ever had the qualifications themselves to be in political office. Did these lawyers, did these judges, did these legislatures, do they actually have the capability to perform the job without secretly harvesting somebody that's been kidnapped and swirled away, or maybe put into prison, or maybe put under some sort of alleged psychological treatment so that we can be robbed and the records of us can be cultivated just long enough to create something they like as a product and then disappear? Like my Facebook account, like my blog from 2008 through 2010. Or actually, it was 2009. I had a blog briefly for 2009. It's disappeared. I had 3 email accounts that have been disappeared since the beginning of 2010. I've had 2 blogs that have just been disappeared. My Facebook account disappeared. My Twitter account disappeared. Yet, the things I post on them, including ways I actually looked in pictures, things I said communicated with other people, end up in other people's lives. Right? Now, something's happening. And a lot of the political capital that was divested from me has ended up in a lot of other people's largesses. And we're not just, talking about any old person, right? Apparently, I was that important. And apparently, the people that I was intimate with were also that important. And so, my understanding, it is now today, the 92nd day since that election. And yesterday would have been the 91st day. They like to do this thing, even though they don't tell you. You have to hunt it down yourself to find it. I have an LLC. I believe they did something in connection with that election as a derivative process connected to my LLC. Now, technically, by the law, they're supposed to tell you. And then they have up to 90 days before they're allowed to actually implement the derivative. Now, nobody told me in person, or did they? Monday would be day 94. I'm very concerned that they really want to take this back to 1994. And it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable to have me running multiple executive accounts for people all over the world who pretend they don't know what's going on. If you agreed to play some little bounce the bitch nuclear football game, at some point you're just going to have to come clean. Now, if she's a legitimate candidate and the story that's reflected in the American media is accurate, her husband was a candidate, he got arrested, right? Her husband had political ambitions in his own country. Somebody didn't like him. He got arrested. So she wanted to redeem his honor. Sounds noble, doesn't it? Is it her story? Did she actually do that? Or is she a prop of the United States State Department that's being financed through a global nonprofit organization that right now is using biological weapons in order to effectuate a global terrorist attack in conjunction with others, including state actors? This is a very profound and very serious question. It demands answers. And I want to know why it was hedges that were set up on me that were supposed to be a part of strategic litigation right here in Texas as a way to demonstrate my financial capability and my own capacity to represent my interests pro se, in light of the fact that nobody wanted to acknowledge me as a colleague on their level, end up in the lives of people that are already in public office, as well as people that had the ambition to achieve public office up to and including the highest office in their country of origin. I'm just going to acknowledge that tonight, and I'm hoping that you adjust the nose, right?